Hello and welcome to this long episode of how to solve a Sudoku. I'm going to go through some of the basics of how we actually can solve a Sudoku and what the general principles are, and then we're going to actually go through and solve this whole thing. Piece by piece, one by one, I'm going to try to explain it in as much detail as possible, and then the slides or the transitions should help us kind of with the rest. So with a Sudoku, a couple things to be aware of. Number one, each row must have the numbers 1 through 9 without repeats. So if we look at this row right here, just a random row, it has the numbers 8, 6, 9, 2, 3, and 5, which means it's missing 1, 2, 4, and 7. Therefore, somewhere in that row, we have to put the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 7. Okay, we're not going to put anything else. We're not going to put a second 9 in there or a second 5. We cannot have any repeats. Secondly, each column must have the numbers 1 through 9 without repeats. Kind of same thing, right? So if we look at this column, happens to be our middle one, it has the numbers 3, 2, 8, 7, and 9, which means it is missing 1, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so again, we have to put those numbers in, but we can't have any repeats. So we also have to make sure that the rows and columns match up. So if we have a 5 in a row already, we can't put that in the column. Okay, even if there's not a 5 in that column. So it kind of blocks it out a little bit. And finally, we have these 3 by 3 boxes. We got 9 of them that make it up. There we go. There's one. And each one of those has to have the numbers 1 through 9 as well. Okay, this box right here, it has 9, 8, 3, and 6, which means it's missing 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. And so we have to find a way to fill them in. So let's take a look at how we can solve this one and what we can look at. I'm going to go through my method of doing it and my directions. You could start in other places. That totally works. But sometimes it's nice to be able to use that to solve. So step number one, what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to look at this box right up there. Okay, and in that box, we have a 3, 6, and a 7. Now, in that box, we have 8s that happen to be in those two columns, which means that that spot right there, okay, has to be an 8. All right, that's our only option. Okay, the only option is an 8 in the middle column because we cannot put one on the two sides. All right, there we go. We got an 8 there. So let's make sure to keep that in there. I'm going to keep all the numbers in red, kind of new ones, and the black ones are going to be the ones that were already there. Step number 2 that I'm going to take a look at is looking at the middle left box. That one right there. Okay, there's a 3 in the middle column and a 3 in the middle row already, which means that the only spot available is that one to put a 3, the only open one, because the other 4 corners or other 3 corners are already taken up with 6, 8, and 2. So there's a 3. All right, we have our 3 in there. Step 3. Now we've got a few steps, don't worry. Look at the middle box. We're going to go to this box now, okay? And if we're looking for 6s, okay, there's 6s in the top and the bottom row and in the left column, which means the only spot available for a 6 is here. They're on the right-hand side, right-hand middle. Okay, so now we have a 6 there, and again, that starts filling them up. Now, as we get numbers in, it actually eliminates certain possibilities that could be there. So therefore, we can actually start to finish things up a little bit quicker. So we're going to stay in this box right here. And we have to recognize that the bottom 2 rows already have a 3. Okay, so from the other 2 boxes, which means that we have to put a 3 up here. All right, and that's going to fill in that section right there. All right, now, if we look at that middle box again, that have 2 more spots available, we're missing a 4 and a 5, but we don't have any kind of clues as to whether it's going to be a 4 or a 5 in there, but we know that one of those has to be a 4 or 5, or that those both have to be 4s and 5s. We just don't know which one is which. All right, let's move to step 5. We're going to move to this bottom right box here. The middle and the right columns, okay, both have a 6 already, as well as the middle row has a 6. So that one right there is going to be a 6 as well. And again, we're going to fill in the 6s. Okay, so let me just check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 6s. And the only other one we can finish up is the top middle box, and we'll get into that one very soon. For this time, though, we're going to finish up the 3s. So I'm going to look at step 6. We're going to finish up the 3s. So these two columns, where is these here? There we go. Those two columns and those two rows both have a 3 already. So that means that the top right has to have a 3, and to fill that in. And then here we go. So we're going to try to finish them off again. We have, let's see here, these two columns and that row both have a 3. So that means we are missing a spot on the bottom left. Okay, the bottom left box, right-hand corner. Okay, and so that one's going to be a 3. And finally, we're going to look at the bottom box there. These two columns and those two rows both have a 3 already, which means that we can plug a 3 into that spot right there. Okay, and that finishes off all of our 3s. Okay, so now you notice the 3s are all done, which is a good thing. If we can do that, we will gladly try and try to take care of that as a number. We could either finish a row or finish a column or finish a box or finish a number, kind of in order if you like. All right, we're on to step 9. Whew, we are cruising right along here. Oh, sorry, step 9. There we go. All right, so let's look at the top right box. So that one right there. Now, the left and middle columns both have a 9 already. So if we look down on the columns, these two columns have a 9, which means that the only spot that could have a 9 in that top right box now is that middle one. Now, this is only because we have a 3 already in the top right. So we are basing our reasoning on that 3 that we've put in there earlier and something that we've done ahead of time. So we have a 9 in there. Step 10, let's stay in the top right box, okay, right up there. And we're going to now look at 8s. So we have an 8 in the top row and an 8 in the left-hand column. That means that an 8 is going to go right there. And that, again, keeps filling up our values, which is really good. Staying up there again, okay? The middle column and bottom row both have a 5, which means that that spot has to be a 5. All right, okay, we only have 2 more left. So we have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're missing a 7 and a 2. So if we stay up there, we'll notice that this row already has a 7. So that has to be a 7. Okay. And finally, as we're staying up there, we need to put a 2 right in that spot there. Okay. So we can finish off that kind of box or that square, which could really help us moving forward. All right. So that helps there. Okay, now, if we're going to take a look at these two rows and this column, okay, they already both have a 2 in there. And so you'll notice in that right-hand box, okay, middle right-hand box, the only spot that could be a 2 is that one right there. And so we have a 2 in that spot. All right, now we have, where is it here? These two columns right here both have a 2 already. Okay, one in the top row or top box, one in the middle box. The bottom box does not have a 2 yet, so we're going to put a 2 in the bottom box the bottom middle box spot of that box. All right, let's take a look. Let's keep going on the 2s. Okay, these two rows already have a 2, and so the left and the right squares or boxes are done. The middle box is missing a 2. But the only spot available is the top right square, so we're going to plug a 2 in there. And again, just continue to fill up boxes as we go. All right, let's look at step 17. Ooh, we are getting some steps on here. All right, let's take a look at this column and row. These ones both have a 1 in there. Now, if we look at the right box, right middle box, it's missing a 1. Okay. The only spot available for a 1 in that box is the bottom middle spot. And so we can fill that in. And then the far right column has a 4 already, right there. And so the bottom right box, the only spot available for a 4 would be there. Ooh, I hope that you're keeping up here. Okay, we're kind of trying to go slowly, but also trying to kind of plug them in as quick as possible. Now, we have 2 columns here. Okay, so these 2 right here, which each have a single spot missing. And so all we need to do is look at which number is missing. Well, in the first column on the left of those 2 columns has everything but a 7. So we're going to plug a 7 in there. And the other column is missing a 4. So we're going to plug a 4 in there. Fill up those columns, finish those off, okay, if we can. Now, in the same way, that middle right box, okay, that one right there, is missing its top right square. Okay, well, we have to look which number is missing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, we're missing a 5. So let's plug a 5 into that spot. Okay, just filling up the remaining spots. All right, now let's keep on going. We have this row right here, which is missing one number. Okay, and the number it's missing is a 7. So let's fill that in with a 7. That one's done. And then we can kind of keep on going. Now we don't have any more rows or columns which have only one spot available, or boxes which have one spot. So now we're going to have to keep moving on and trying to eliminate certain spots with kind of the rows and columns. So we're going to focus on the left bottom box. Now I'm not going to highlight that right now, but the two top rows and the middle column each have a 9. Okay, but the box doesn't. So we're going to put a 9 in that missing spot. It's the only one that's open, and fill up that one right there. Okay, so now we're going to fill in the 9 in the top left box. Okay, the left column already has one. The middle row has one. The only spot available there is the top right. So we're going to fill that one in. All right, and now in the middle box here, we already have a 9 in the top two rows. So we need one in the bottom row. Okay, we're missing a 9 in that box, so we're going to fill that one in as well. And then with that row, it's almost filled in. It's just missing a 1, so let's plug a 1 into there as well. I'm going to try to kind of finish up some of those rows if I have a chance to. Okay, let's look at the middle left box. We don't have a 1 in that box yet, but the left column and bottom row both have 1s already. So that means that the middle row, right column, has to be that spot. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. Gonna now go to the bottom left box. Okay. So this one, sorry, we're gonna focus on the third column. Okay, there's no 4 or 5 in that column. I'm looking at a specific column here, but that one spot that's open has a 5 in that row already, which means that we can put a 5 into the other spot that's open. And the last spot that's unopened there, or that's open, okay, it has to be a 4 because that's the only number that is available there. All right, still looking on that third bottom row, we only have 2 spots available. Okay, so looking at that, the one column there already has a 7, but the other one does not. So that one has to be a 7, and the only available number left is a 1. So we can put our 1 and our 7 in there. Bottom left box. Okay, so we can look at the bottom left box. We can finish that one off now. This column right here already has a 7, which means that that part has to be a 7. And the last one has to get filled in is a 5. So we're kind of getting our 5s done here. Now this that column, okay, so that same middle column only is missing one value because we put that 5 in there already. Or sorry, there's a 4, and then the 5 can go into the last spot in that box. Okay, the two middle rows here, those ones right there, we're just missing one piece each. Because we put a 5 in the top row, we can put a 5 now in the bottom row. And the last spot available is a 4. So we're completing that with a 4 and a 5. Now, earlier we talked about how we knew that had to be a 4 and a 5. Now we're actually finishing that up because we can do it by process of elimination. All right, bottom middle box. Okay, the bottom row and the left or the right column already have a 5 in them. So that means that there's a 1 spot available for a 5, and that's going to be right here. And that finishes up our 5s. Step 32. Staying in the middle, but looking at the left column. Okay, so we're going to look at this column right here. Okay, it is missing a 2 and a 7 and an 8, or 2, 7, and 8. Now, 7 and 8 are already in the upper row. Okay, so they're already on that top row, which means that that one cannot be a 7 or 8, so it has to be a 2. So again, we're using process of elimination to try to solve for that. Now we're going to focus on the top row. A 6 only works in the middle spot because there's already a 6 in the left and the right open areas. So we're going to put a 6 in there. There is a 1 already in the left-hand column. Okay, so that means we can in there, so we have to put a 1 there. You might also realize that the middle row of that top middle box cannot have a 1 due to there being a 1 in the right-hand box. And so the only one available for a 1 is right there. That row is now almost finished. We're only missing a 4, so we can plug a 4 in there as well. Okay. Now, the left-hand box as well, one more here is missing 1 as well. So let's put a 2 in there to finish off that box. Again, once we get close to the end, they go a little bit quicker, hopefully. All right, step 35. The bottom box only needs a 1, okay? And the 2 outside columns already have 1. So these 2 columns already have 1s. That means that a 1 has to go in there, okay? And we can complete that column right there because it only has 1 left with a 4. Step 36. A 4 can be placed in the bottom middle box, okay? We're missing that. This row right here, or that column right there has a 4. The middle row has a 4, so we have to put a 4 in there, and that finishes up our 4s. Okay, that was a tough one because there was not a lot of 4s actually given. None. There was a 1 4 was given. So this is kind of, we're getting our way to finding all of our 4s. All right, now we're going to do fill a 7 into the middle bottom box. Okay, so there's a 7 in the middle row, so we can put a 7 there. Now we can also put a 7 in the top middle box because that one's missing one. So it has to go in the other column. An 8 can then be filled in, let's see here, what was that? The middle box. So right there we can have an 8, right there we can have an 8, and because we have an 8 there, on the bottom right-hand corner we have an 8. And our very final step is we can fill that in with a 1, and there we go, we have completed our Sudoku. Now, the very last step, which I would recommend doing, is just to quickly go through and double check that every row and every column doesn't have a repeat. Every box doesn't have a repeat. Again, it's something that we might not do, but if there is a mistake, you'll be able to see with the repeats that are in there. I hope you had fun watching. It was a lot of fun to make. It took a little bit of time, but I hope this helps you with solving any Sudokus that you might have and giving you some tricks and tips as to how to do it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the day.